The Canadian government is currently facing significant instability following the resignation of Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. Her departure was sparked by disagreements with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau regarding fiscal policies and how best to respond to President-elect Donald Trump's threat of imposing 25% tariffs on all Canadian imports. In late November 2024, President-elect Trump announced his plans to impose these tariffs, citing concerns over drug trafficking and illegal immigration. This proposal carries enormous implications for Canada, a nation heavily reliant on exports to the United States. The trade relationship between the two countries has long been a cornerstone of Canada's economy. However, during Trump's first administration, 2017-2021, US-Canada relations were marked by significant challenges, especially in terms of trade and diplomacy. One of the most pivotal events was the renegotiation of the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, which Trump criticized. This led to its replacement with the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, effective July 1, 2020. The new agreement brought significant changes to sectors such as automotive manufacturing and dairy products. Moreover, during Trump's presidency, tariffs were imposed on Canadian steel and aluminum imports under the justification of national security concerns. Canada retaliated by imposing its own tariffs on US products, further straining economic relations. Personal relations between President Trump and Prime Minister Trudeau were characterized by both cooperation and contention, with notable public disagreements, especially during trade negotiations and international summits. For instance, after the 2018 G7 summit, Trump criticized Trudeau, which led to a diplomatic rift. The two leaders also had differing views on a number of international policies, such as climate change and immigration. Key events and developments during this period also included the resurfacing of the long-standing softwood lumber dispute, where the US imposed duties on Canadian lumber, alleging unfair subsidies. The Trump administration's immigration policies also influenced discussions on border security, with both countries working together to address asylum seeking and cross-border movement. These issues highlight the complexity of the bilateral relationship, particularly for Canadian industries such as automotive manufacturing, agriculture, and natural resources that are deeply integrated into US supply chains. The proposed 25% tariff has the potential to disrupt this intricate economic relationship, creating significant risks of economic instability in Canada. The history of Canada-U.S. relations traces back to the colonial era, with both territories initially part of European empires. Tensions arose during the American Revolutionary War, 1775-1783, as many British loyalists fled to Canada, creating a legacy of mutual suspicion. The War of 1812 exacerbated these tensions, with battles spilling into Canadian territories. However, over time, these hostilities were replaced by cooperation, particularly after Canada's Confederation in 1867. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, both nations worked to resolve boundary disputes, such as the Alaska boundary, and began collaborating on resource management and defense. During both World Wars, Canada and the US were steadfast allies, marking a shift from earlier rivalries to a partnership founded on shared democratic values. The wartime alliance laid the groundwork for deeper economic and military ties in the post-war era. Trade, in particular, has always been a cornerstone of the relationship. The US is Canada's largest trading partner, with roughly 75% of Canada's exports destined for US markets. Over the years, this economic partnership has been solidified through key agreements, such as the Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement, 1989, which eliminated tariffs and fostered economic integration. This was expanded in 1994 to include Mexico, forming the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. NAFTA was eventually replaced by the USMCA in 2020, modernizing trade rules across sectors such as automotive manufacturing and digital trade. Despite the trade benefits, the relationship has faced friction, especially during Trump's administration, which imposed tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. Canada's retaliatory measures added to the strain, but the economic ties between the two nations remain deeply interconnected, particularly in the energy sector, where Canada is the largest supplier of oil, natural gas, and electricity to the US. This mutual dependence has sparked debates, notably over pipelines like Keystone XL, underscoring both countries' shared interests and disagreements. Politically, Canada and the US have a strong relationship, underpinned by mutual defense agreements and shared values. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, established in 1958, exemplifies military collaboration, ensuring joint monitoring of air and missile threats. Both nations are active members of NATO and have worked together on global missions, including in Afghanistan. The post-9/11 era saw heightened security measures at the border, aiming to balance safety with the free flow of trade and travel. Culturally, Canada and the US are deeply intertwined. They share values such as democratic governance, human rights, and diversity. Millions of people cross the shared 8,891-kilometer border annually for business, tourism, and family visits, fostering connections that extend beyond politics. Cultural exchanges further enrich their relationship, with Canadian actors, musicians, and writers often finding success in the US, while American media and entertainment have a significant audience in Canada. Despite these strong ties, recurring issues and disputes have persisted, particularly in trade. Disputes over softwood lumber and dairy tariffs highlight the complexities of their economic relationship. Environmental concerns have also caused tension, notably over transboundary pollution and debates about pipelines like Keystone XL, which raise questions about climate change and indigenous rights. Arctic sovereignty remains another area of divergence, with both nations having differing views on navigation rights in the Northwest Passage. As climate change makes the Arctic more accessible, this issue is likely to become more prominent in the future. The political landscape within Canada has been significantly impacted by the tariff announcement. Freeland's resignation, citing disagreements with Trudeau over the government's response to Trump's tariff threat, has deepened existing political tensions. She emphasized the need for fiscal prudence and a strategic approach to counter Trump's economic nationalism, criticizing what she described as costly political gimmicks. Freeland's departure has intensified calls for Trudeau's resignation, both from opposition parties and from within his own Liberal Party. The Liberal Party has faced by-election losses and declining approval ratings, leading to growing pressure on Trudeau. Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre has been vocal in criticizing Trudeau, accusing him of losing control and clinging to power. Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet has declared that the Trudeau government is done, and is ready to support a motion of no confidence to expedite an election. Within the Liberal Party, Freeland's resignation has emboldened dissenters, with some MPs, such as Wayne Long, publicly calling for Trudeau's resignation. Other MPs, including Shay Casey, have echoed these sentiments, suggesting that the party may struggle in future elections under Trudeau's leadership. As the next federal election approaches, set for October 20, 2025, the political future of the Liberal Party hangs in the balance. Analysts predict several possible scenarios. 1. Trudeau could voluntarily resign, leading to the appointment of an interim leader. 2. Opposition parties might introduce a motion of no confidence, resulting in early elections, which could benefit the Conservatives. Or 3. Trudeau could attempt to retain leadership, despite mounting pressure, though this seems increasingly unlikely. As for the Canadian economy, the looming tariffs are expected to create significant uncertainty. Freeland's resignation came just before the release of the government's fall economic statement, which was expected to show a substantial increase in the national deficit. This raises concerns about Canada's preparedness to effectively negotiate with the incoming Trump administration and protect its economic interests. In conclusion, the resignation of Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, combined with the looming threat of US tariffs and a destabilizing political environment, has created a volatile situation in Canada. The challenges ahead are immense, and the outcome of the current political crisis will have far-reaching implications for both Canada's domestic policies and its relationship with the United States. If you found this analysis insightful, please consider liking and subscribing to stay informed on future updates.